How's it going? Welcome to What is Fabrizio Inking? Let's get some background music. Thanks for joining. If you are new to me or the channel, I have a comic book called Horse H. Hoover. It's an occult detective. Let me turn down that music because it's blaring. I have a comic book. It's a 5-issue miniseries. Currently, issues 1 through 3 are available at horsehoover.com. Check it out. It's an occult detective set in the 1920s. He sort of goes on these adventures with his two buddies, Max and Slurp, and they investigate supernatural, paranormal mysteries. Kind of Lovecraftian, weird fiction, a little fun, more adventure than horror, though, for sure. Oh, man. Hope everybody is doing well. I guess I should start inking. So today I'm actually working on an alternate cover for the first issue. So the first issue cover I did quite a while ago. I wanted to do an alternate cover, which is it's not a reimagining sort of, or a different take. It's sort of a redo. So I use the same elements. I kind of mix them up a little bit, but it's sort of just a where am I now as far as skill set. So that's what we're working on today, and probably next month or two. Any questions, comments, let me know. Alrighty. I've been leaving this smoke for later. I think if it's officially later, according to the calendar, it's later. So I have to attempt to do something with it today. Things can go poorly pretty quickly, but you gotta give it a whirl. Also, just a heads up, I'll be at Plastic City Comic Con next Saturday in Leominster. I'm from PA, so Massachusetts is quite the trek. But if you are around, stop in. I'll have issues 1 through 3 and some other things. Stickers, cards, posters, things like that. It's one day, and it's in a hotel, which I am very excited about. Really feels like an old school Comic-Con, which really makes me happy. So I wasn't at the one last year, but I'll definitely be trying to hit it each year. So stop in. Thing about smoke or clouds or trees is you have to make it look random, which for humans is actually pretty tough. So sometimes it takes a few tries to get the variation in size and path. Obviously, smoke doesn't move in a very linear fashion. It kind of moves back and forth. So That is the trickiest thing about smoke, fog, things like that. Because even if you accurately describe something, if it doesn't have the variation that we expect, it'll look wrong, which is kind of funny. So even if it's anatomically or technically accurate in some way, that's almost irrelevant because our eyes are really expecting something specific. And that goes for everything really, but the randomization is tricky. You almost have to just stop thinking and just kind of let your hand jitter one way or the other, and then maybe go back in, tweak it. Tales of the Extra Normal. Hey man, how's it going? You draw a mean pouch, my man. I'm bringing back the pouch. That's my goal in life. But these pouches have very specific things in them, like tape and glue, things like that. It's funny you mention that because I used to have Richard Friend, who's a pretty famous inker, did Wildcats. He's been around forever. And you could join his Patreon and he would basically review your artwork. And for the first couple of issues for Horse H. Hoover, it was invaluable. I've talked about it before. He was really a great, person to have look at your work before you put the final stamp on it. And he used to talk about how good my pouches were. So I don't know if that skill translates to anything else, but I'm going to Plastic City this week, or this weekend, so most of this week is just going to be packing and prepping for that. So I don't know how much actual drawing I'll get done this week, but excited to meet some new people and introduce them to Horse H. Hoover. So people that aren't online, which is many, many people. going? Powering through the last 7 pages I've left for issue 3. Are you going to Baltimore Comic-Con this year? Oh, wow, that's awesome. Last 7 pages. So will you have that done for the Ed Piscor thing? That'd be great. I know that's the 17th. I think the 17th of August. I'm not going to Baltimore this year. It just didn't work out with my work schedule. But I would like to sort of kind of mix it up a little bit, maybe every other year. If I can get to that, that'd be great. Or some other ones. You know, I really want to hit different cons at different times. So I'll always do the local Three Rivers just because, you know, you can't beat something that's 20 minutes away. But it'd be nice to just pop in and out of just random conventions. East Coast, at least. West Coast is obviously that's a hard sell. Yeah, I think Plastic City from here is like a 9-hour drive or something, so I gotta load up on podcasts and music and all sorts of stuff. Get me through that drive. Probably won't be ready for EDPCon, but maybe I'll have a super productive week. I'm also doing Indie Creator Comic Con in Connecticut. Oh man, in the spring. That seems like a cool time. That's interesting. Yeah, Connecticut's not too bad as far as driving. It's a little closer for me. That would be kind of cool. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I'm just starting to do conventions really in earnest, so I don't know a lot of them. I really have to research kind of what's out there and what'll be good for the book and not too crazy of a drive. And okay. Basically gonna have to clean all of this up. Yeah, we were just talking about potentially On the way back from Plastic City and visiting my brother, heading New Haven, which we've been to before, which I really dug. It's a cool little town. It's got the Beinecke Library, which is one of the coolest places I've ever been to, which is a rare book and manuscript museum. And it's got this, for anybody who doesn't know, essentially like in the middle of this 3-4 story library is like just this glass enclosure with all the books that's temperature and humidity controlled, and then the walls are essentially like a really thin marble to let in just a little bit of light, to make sure that the books don't get damaged. Really, really stunning looking place. I kind of wanted this to blend in a little bit because this is like a tentacle and this is smoke, so I kind of wanted that to kind of fade in a little bit together. I thought that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, the library, it's truly one of a kind. Even if you Google it, it's crazy. There's not a lot of place to sit or hang out, but just so cool. It's one of those deals where you walk in and you start coming up with stories. You can't help it, honestly. It's just... I wrote a little mini short story. I don't know if I'll do anything with it. I just have the bones of the story, not like a fully fleshed out. Hey Yang, how's it going? Is this for Horus 4? This is the alternate cover for issue 1. So I want to do a new cover for issue 1, just because the first issue, I mean, that was one of the first things I drew. So I thought it would be nice to have a newly published, different version of issue 1. Oh, and if people don't know, Yang has a channel where he's having Mark Millar, and I forget what time and day is that. I think it was right. I was at work during it, but throw that in the channel and let people know, because that's gonna be amazing. What a huge get. Tuesday morning at 10:30 a.m. Yeah, that's gonna be great. I'll have to, I don't know, I'll have to take a break during that time. See if I can take a few minutes to check it out. I'm like, I'm feeling sick this morning. Maybe I'm gonna go sit in my car for a bit. See if I can recuperate a bit. Yeah, I'll be honest, I'm not great about meeting people like that. I never know what to say, so I'm always impressed by people that interview and just really kind of know what to say or what to ask, and keep them engaged and keep it interesting. I've only met a few people in my life that make things that I'm, really impressed by. I never know what to say to them. I'm always that just fan, like, I love your work, man. But I'll just fake it until I think. No, you do a great job with interviews. Always very thoughtful. I think John Longbox mentioned that. Like thoughtful questions, which is really nice. A lot of people just sort of, the first thing they think of just kind of comes out or whatever. But yeah, I'm always interested to see what you ask. I was trying to think of Mark Millar's books that I liked. I haven't read all of them. And I didn't know he wrote some of the books that I read too, like Red Sun. For some reason, I didn't. It's been a long time since I read that book. Whenever that came out, like Red Sun, Civil War, of course, The Ultimates, Old Man Logan. I definitely have my issues with Old Man Logan, but. I never read The Kingsman or Wanted, but I actually like the movies, the movie adaptation, so of both of those. Civil War was good. So I had to think about that. I didn't read the whole thing. So again, that was also seemed like forever ago. So I remember very little of it, but I don't think I read the whole thing. Actually, I think I have the collected something here. Yeah. So I have I have three of the collected, but I don't know how many it sort of spanned. So I don't know if I obviously only got some of the story, but definitely by that time I was just buying collected stuff instead of the floppies. And just pop into like a Barnes and Noble, just take a gander and just, grab something. A few years ago, I made a video titled Mark Millar Doesn't Understand Communism based on Red Suns. Luckily, I'm sure he hasn't actually watched any of my videos. I'm gonna have to check that out. Civil was basically an American gun rights debate as told by a European. Yeah, I definitely got that feel. I just remember some really weird stuff. I could be totally wrong, but wasn't there like a fake Thor, like a robot Thor or something? I just remember thinking there was definitely some things in there that were a little odd. But yeah, something like a gun debate between Cap and Iron Man, and people pick sides, and then I'm like, I don't know, would that character pick that side, or it? I think you really get into a hard place because it's not as easy just to say, okay, Spider-Man would totally be on Cap or Iron Man's side, and Thor would definitely be on. it's not that easy just to split them up into sides like that, unless they're a very specific character. Like if we're talking the Punisher, or I don't know, something else, then I think it's a lot easier. But some characters, it almost seems arbitrary unless they have talked about it, you know, or done something in a comic book that would reflect a position that they took. Then you can say like, okay, this character would definitely side on this side or that. Yeah, the ending was weak with a fake Thor, but fun premise. Yeah, I wonder, maybe I don't know if I should revisit it or not. I have other books to read, but in my head, I don't know, Civil War seems like it was forever ago, but I'm a bad judge of time now. Funny, whenever parents are trying to figure out time, they're always like, well, my daughter was in preschool, or, you know, my son was learning to drive then. They always have these markers based on like something their kids were doing. But if you don't have kids, then like what do you use to judge time? And I don't have kids, so it's almost like, I don't know, let's see. Horus issue 1 was coming out for Horus. Like Horus is going to be like my metric for the passage of time. I don't know. I was working, I was working on issue 3, and the book bug was kidnapping Horus. So we'll see if that happens or not. When I'm at the DMV and they ask me for a date, I'm gonna have to give them the whole story. Hey Ben, how's it going? Thank you. Thanks for popping in. I appreciate it. I definitely was debating on whether or not I was going to draw today, but I meant live as opposed to just getting back to drawing pages, but I figured why not? With Plastic City and me going out of town, I won't get a ton done, so. But honestly, when I travel, and I mentioned before, a lot of times you just come up with stories. That's the best time. You're in a town with some weird architecture, or you see somebody that looks possibly like they have an ancestor that mated with a fish, and then you come up with a story, or something like that. Especially since I'm going to Massachusetts. Oh, and this is actually kind of funny. So my brother lives, well, I guess he just moved, but he lives in Wilbraham, Massachusetts. Oh no, did I just dox my brother? He lives in Wilbraham, Massachusetts, and apparently in a letter, H.P. Lovecraft had said that Dunwich was based on Wilbraham. Because he had traveled and he'd been through Wilbraham, and he based Dunwich on that. And if you've read the Dunwich Horror, his description of that town is not a nice one. Now, obviously, I didn't really see anything that made me think of the Dunwich Horror, but I did keep an eye out for goatish-looking 7-foot-tall dudes. Do the residents look fishy? I didn't see any. So, I don't know. I guess the question is, where do they hang out? Is there like a, you know how every, like, not every, but large cities have like Pittsburgh Steeler bars? Maybe places around the country or the world have like Innsmouth bars. So if you know, and you go to that particular bar, you're in Spain, and you're like, hey, I need to hang out with the fam, and you go to the fishy bar in Spain or something. Is this where people drop off? No invisible monsters tearing up barns? I don't think so. I mean, I did go to a grocery store and I did see a couple of potatoes in the onion cart. I don't know if that qualifies. Maybe is there a tiny invisible monster that's just kind of messing up the produce? Is that Lovecraft's first draft of the Dunwich Horror? Yeah, it's called the Sandwich Horror. Hey, we have all lived through the nightmare of our sandwiches being toppled over. Like you get that perfectly stacked sandwich, and then it just doesn't stay. Ugh, terrible. Or worse yet, you ever have like a meatball sub? So we used to have this place in my hometown called Vito's, and they sold hot dogs and meatball subs. And invariably, you would get to the very last meatball of the meatball sub, and it would pop right out every single time. You're savoring that last meatball. You at least have one more meatball before the end of the sub, and it just pops out the other end. Now that's some sandwich horror. I've been to Subway. Plenty of horrific sandwiches there. I don't doubt that. I don't know. I think I'm really going to go off on a sandwich tangent here, but I have to admit, we've all eaten at nice restaurants and spent a lot of money on fancy food. But you give me a good sandwich, I don't know. I will probably pick the sandwich 90% of the time. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to do an hour today. I started late, but like I said, I got to start packing and getting things ready for the Comic-Con. If anybody has any good podcasts, recommendations, I will definitely check them out. 10 hours is a long time. Totally off camera. Old Gods of Appalachia is pretty good. If you like Lovecraft-esque shows. Yeah, I think I have that on my list. I don't think I've listened to it though. I'll have to actually give it a whirl. Well, I probably shouldn't have gone completely black back there, but I'm not sure yet. It's one of those scenarios where you just gotta hold off and work on some other things and then get back to it and see if you did actually mess it up or not. So I'm going to just pretend that didn't happen. I can only recommend one. Belief Hole would be it. I've never heard of that. They cover paranormal topics and have a great sense of humor. There are three brothers, and one of them does sound design for small-town monsters. Belief Hole. Okay, cool. Yeah, the only sort of paranormal thing I listen to is, geez, I'm blank. Astonishing Legends, which is good. They're a little, I don't know. I started not from the beginning, but pretty close to the beginning. Sometimes it looks like they're really trying to find things and they don't have topics. That's the only time I get a little annoyed. But some of the Astonishing Legends stuff is so good, like on the Mothman and all that kind of stuff. I know you and your brother are really into that. Belief Hole, yeah, I'll check it out. It's 4 o'clock. So I'm definitely changing this sort of on the fly, which we'll see how that works out. Pencils are just different than inks, and sometimes the way an image is going, the way that a drawing or a composition is actually headed, you kind of need to make those decisions, or you really can't make those decisions until you get so far into the drawing. Definitely a little looser than I like to work, but it's okay. If you can't experiment on an alternate cover of a book that you already have done, then I don't really see the point. I mean, you'll never get better or, reach whatever style it is that you're sort of meant to have. You'll never get there by doing the same thing over and over again. So sometimes you got to be a little looser, sometimes tighter, sometimes you just got to try some different things. It is just pen and ink in the end, so it's your time, but at least you can X things off the list if it doesn't work out, You can be like, well, I was never really meant to do oil painting, or I was never meant to sculpt or something like that. It's good to know that. That way you don't have this image in your head of like, someday I'm going to sculpt this amazing ZBrush sculpture or whatever the case may be. It's okay to X that off the list. I'm never going to be a concert pianist, so I don't have to delude myself into thinking so. Esoterica, the channel operated by Dr. Justin Sledge, has a lot of good, well-researched academia info on a lot of religious and magical stuff. One of the more cogent channels in that space, Esoterica. You know, that sounds familiar. I think I might have seen it. I don't listen to it though. Cool. I'm going to check all these out because, like I said, in the end, I have 20 hours in the car, so I kind of bounce around a lot. I really do like the old Shadow show, but I wish somebody would remaster them or run them through some filters because the audio sometimes is so bad, it's actually hard to understand. That's my only problem with those really old radio dramas. I'm gonna wrap up a little early here. Still going on this one, huh? Yeah, it's gonna take some time. Definitely gonna take some time. It will be fun to compare the two though. You know, once this is done, looking at the first version and this version several years later. And not just time-wise, it's, you know, when you first come up with a character and you first write the first story, you definitely have something in mind, but you don't have the whole thing just laid out in front of you. And I would argue if you do have the whole thing laid out in front of you, it's not going to be good. It'll be predictable. It'll be, I don't know, monster of the week kind of stuff, and it'll just be something we've all seen 8,000 times. But like exploration is fun, and if you have it laid out in front of you before you even start, then it's those little connections you make as you're creating that make it fun. Connections that weren't made before, and that you only see, sometimes you only see them because of the artwork. Sometimes just sitting on it for a really long time is the only thing that'll let you make certain connections. So where was I going with that? Oh, right. So the difference between this cover, the original cover, and this cover isn't just a matter of time and sort of skill. It's how you view the characters too. And, you know, now that I've been working with Horace, and he's had several adventures now, and he's met a lot of different characters and been to different locations, he is, you know, he really is a different character. in my head. And that's actually one of the things I always wanted to have happen is first you see him, he's a guy with a vacuum cleaner on his head. Maybe you chuckle, maybe you are like, oh, this is dumb and kind of goofy. But eventually I wanted him to be a cool character, as cool as any other character. And I really wanted to take him through enough adventures and stories where readers really start to look at him the way I do now. And that doesn't mean on the pages of the comic book there's like a character arc, but I mean the view that the reader has of Horace. Because the more stuff that he does, the more we kind of get his character, the more we like him, in theory. And the more, so we view him as a different person. It would be like, this might be a bad analogy, but you're at a comic book convention. Somebody walks around with some cosplay, some ridiculous cosplay. And you have a mental image of that person. They're wearing some ridiculous cosplay. You don't know anything about them. You haven't seen them do anything. You just saw them in this particular cosplay. But then all of a sudden you go outside and somebody's getting robbed or mugged. And this person in the ridiculous cosplay is, helping and beating up the mugger. Like you'll look at that person, regardless of what that cosplay looks like, you'll look at them differently. That's probably a terrible analogy, but that's the one I got. So the goal is to really make Horace as cool as I see him, despite the helmet and some other things. Is it a fool's errand? Well, maybe, who knows? It'll be fun trying, right? That's for true madness aficionado. You could always base yourself in paranoia and listen to old recordings of William Cooper's The Hour of the Time. Man, I'm going to take a screenshot of all these recommendations. The Hour of Time, I like that. I am an aficionado. Alrighty, I think I am good. It's been 55 minutes. That's pretty close to an hour. Well, thanks everybody for popping in. I appreciate it. I will probably try to stream from Plastic City for a little bit, at least say hi. Kind of give a tour of what's going on. Oh man. I will have my books there available. probably some posters, some stickers, things like that for anybody that pops in. And then I think that's it. Yeah. I do have some other things planned, some other card game, computer game, all sorts of stuff over the next year, which I would like to start to work on soon in earnest. I think after this convention. So maybe I'll start posting stuff just to give people an idea of what I'm working on. Just to give them an idea of what to expect over the next year as I finish issues 4 and 5. Anyway, thanks again, everybody. I appreciate it. I hope you have a good rest of your Sunday evening. Thanks. Bye.